Hello guys, this is your friend. We are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto's exile transformed him into a genius shinobi and build own harem, part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start a new fanfic. As Naruto finally stumbles back into the village, he sees all of his friends, the ones that are not currently in the hospital. Specifically, he sees Sakura. He smiles at her, thinking she is going to be so proud of him for bringing Sasuke back to the village. How wrong he was. Sakura takes a good look at Sasuke, completely ignoring the blood coming from Naruto. Naruto Yubaka. How could you hurt Sasuke-kun? I cannot believe it. Sakura-chan. What do you mean? He was trying to kill me. I did what I had to do to bring him back for you. He's just little beat up but will be fine, replies Naruto. I didn't ask you to bring him back half dead. I hate you, you monster, yells Sakura as she cradles Sasuke. At this point, people are cheering and supporting Sakura for putting the demon in its place. Naruto friends start to step forward, but at that moment the village council steps through the crowd and glares Naruto's friends. Seeing their parents and village leaders gather around makes the Konoha rookies back down. Naruto, with tears building in his eyes, sees the council approach and attempts to stand as best he could. Koharu and Homura step forward. Naruto Uzumaki, by decree of the council, you are hereby banished from Konoha until further notice. You are not to come within 200 miles of the village, and you are not allowed to collect any belongings you believe you own. This decree is executed immediately and you must leave at once. Naruto couldn't believe it. Why am I being banished? I completed the mission. The council does not have to justify itself, nor do you have any right to ask this question, Homura said. Naruto looks to his friends for support, but due to fear of the council and respective parents, his friends keep their eyes down at the ground, unable to look at Naruto. What about the Hokage? Doesn't banishment have to have her seal of approval? Asks Naruto. This time Koharu speaks up. Once again, we don't have to answer your questions. However, here is a copy of the banishment for you. It clearly has her seal stamped at the bottom. Now leave before we imprison you. What nobody notices is Shikamaru running as fast as he can to the hospital. With tears running down his face, Naruto glances up at Hokage Mountain, realizing his dream will no longer come true, and runs from the village as fast as he can. In the background, nobody sees Danzo fade into the shadows with a pleased look on his face. XXXXXXXXXXX. While Naruto is running from the gates, Shikamaru burst into the hospital looking for Tsunade. When he finds out where she is at, he is stopped by the hospital staff due to her being in surgery. Shikamaru is forced to wait for the surgery to be complete and starts pacing the floor. 1 hour later, Tsunade exits the surgery room and sees Shikamaru pacing with a very angry and concerned look on his face. Shikamaru, Choji is going to be just fine. Don't you worry. Tsunade, seeing the tears in his eyes but not tears of joy. She can see his emotion and wonders what's going on. Hokage-sama, the council has banished Naruto. Heaves Shikamaru. Tsunade's eyes widen. What? How is that possible? They don't have my approval for such action. Hokage-sama, they did have it. Tsunade was confused. She never would have approved this. Her Naruto was precious to her. Her anger was starting to flare beyond belief. Tsunade storms out of the hospital with killer intent, ki, so high that the village could feel it. The council, having prepared for this, was waiting in the council chambers with smug looks on their faces, except Hiashi and Danzo due to their never-losing composure attitudes. XXXXXXXXXX. A few minutes later at the council chambers. Tsunade bursts through the doors in a rage. Where is this decree? Tsunade screams while taking her place at the table. Homura hands Tsunade the decree. You have forged my seal on this document without my approval. This is not only treason, but null and void. Tsunade. That is Hokage-sama. Danzo, don't you dare disrespect me again. Tsunade seethes toward Danzo. My apologies, Hokage-sama, Danzo replies rather nonchalant-like. However, per village law, while you are disposed, in this case in surgery, we as the council do have the authority to act in the best interest of the village. And pray tell how banishing Naruto is in the best interest of the village, Tsunade replies, still leaking ki. Koharu replies, the Uchiha are the legacy of the village and Naruto practically kills him, dragging him back to the village. This cannot go unpunished. However, the offense is not tantamount to a death penalty according to Danzo-san. However, for the suggestion of the civilian council, banishment is the only option available. With Tsunade's voice rising every minute, so you are telling me that Naruto completed the mission and just because he roughed up your precious Uchiha he was banished. At this point the civilian side has passed out by the level of ki that Tsunade is emitting in the room. And what about you, Shinobi Council? Tsunade directs her attention to just now. Your children are friends with Naruto, how could you possibly support this? Shibi Aburame speaks up, Hokage-sama, we believe our children will be safer with Naruto being gone considering what's inside him. It is only logical to protect the village from all threats both outside and within the village. Naruto has fought beside all your children, hell Choji might have died today if it wasn't for me being here. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Naruto. He is the sole reason I came back to this village, did you know that? And what about you, Hiyashi? If my assistant wasn't here with me then Neji might have died too. You all cannot possibly support this when it is solely Naruto who has saved this village and his friends before. He's a hero. Tsunade starts trying to reason and holding back her tears. At this point Danzo opens his mouth, Hokage-sama, we are very fortunate to have you here among us, but as shinobi our children can be placed in serious danger while serving the village. It is only natural that deaths may occur. This is a fact that shinobi must come to accept and a fact that all parents must accept as well. Unseen to everyone in the room, the shinobi side having agreed with Danzo on the banishment of Naruto all mentally flinch at how callous Danzo was with their children's lives. However, they cannot appear to be weak in resolve, so they all file this information away for now, not knowing that each of them was thinking the same thing. Did we support the wrong side? Danzo always has been secretive. Tsunade, seeing that she has no support and not seeing a way out of this mess, currently decides to leave a threat out there for now. I will allow this for now. However, I pass a new law right now that if anyone uses the Hokage's power without prior authorization, then it will be seen as treason, punishable by immediate death. I would like to see anyone say anything about this right now, I dare you. Everyone, realizing how serious she was being, decided to let it get go and leave. As soon as everyone left the room, Tsunade breaks down and cries. She promises that she will find a way to bring Naruto back home. Danzo stood before a four-man team of his root ninja in the shadows behind the crowd. There will be a council meeting no doubt as soon as Tsunade is out of surgery. Your mission to hunt down Naruto Uzumaki and capture him. If capture is not an option, then death is the only other option for him. I will have that weapon or no one will. Is that clear? Yes, Danzo-sama, the team said as they vanished from sight. XXXXXXXXXX. Shortly after being banished, Naruto is struggling to walk through the forest. With the hole in his chest and loss of blood, lack of rest, and chakra exhaustion, he could collapse at any minute. Kid, 4 ninja are coming for us and you're in no condition to fight. Slightly surprised, but not one to argue while he felt this way. Don't you think I know what condition I'm in? Naruto replied rather exasperatedly. Alright, Kit, here is a one-time deal only, because if you die then I do too. I'm going to pump my chakra into your system. Create 8 of your clones, send all 8 at the incoming foes, and when they get close send 4 toward the sand village and have 4 attack them. Catching his breath, Naruto replies, I was going to go to see if Gaara could help, so why would I do that? I believe it would be better to go where shinobi can't find you. I was thinking of that wave place with that drunk bridge builder. That great and all, but it's going to take all my strength just to make those clones once you give me a chakra boost. What makes you think I can make it to Tazuna's? I'm going to pump my chakra in you constantly so you can run at demonic speeds. You should be there by 1 a.m. Excuse me, but would that much demonic chakra poison me? Replied Naruto. Normally yes, but I should be able to heal you, but you might be out cold for a day or two once you arrive. Should. How reassuring. Fine. Just do it. XXXXXXXXXX. As the root team were closing in, they felt a surge of demonic chakra in the air. The leader looked up and signaled to the group. It looks like he's relying on the demon's power. Be careful. As the clones of Naruto approached, 4 took off in the opposite direction while the others attacked. This did not go unnoticed by the squad members. Sir, 4 are heading toward the Suna. He may be attempting to seek help. Let's take care of these clones first and do it quickly, replied the leader. The clones didn't do a bad job, however, they were just clones, but it did give the clones a good head start. About a mile from where the clones split up, the root team was catching up to the other clones. The root team evaluated the formation and assumed the lead Naruto was the real one, the other 3 were the clones. The other 3 clones finally slowed down in an attempt to slow down the root team, and though they did provide a distraction, it wasn't hardly enough. About an hour more of wasted time for the root, and they finally caught up to the lead Naruto. The root leader spoke up. Naruto Uzumaki, please come peacefully with us and we will not harm you. Yeah right, like I believe you. Catch me if you can. Naruto taunted. Naruto and the root team played duck and weave for a short period, but eventually Naruto was caught and bound. What the root ninja didn't know was that the clone allowed himself to get caught in an attempt to draw as much time away from the real Naruto as he could. Hey, I don't recognize you all. Where are you from? Asked Naruto. That is none of your concern now, replied the leader. Well, I would love to hang around, but I have got better things to do. Suddenly the clone dispersed. The leader of the root team was furious. He couldn't believe it was just a clone. We must hurry. Let's go back to where we encountered the clones first and see if we can pick up a trail. Hi, the team responded. Once the team arrived back at where they first encountered the Naruto clones, it was very late. And the team needed rest. At this point we don't have much choice. After chasing the clones all over the forest, we need to rest and recoup our chakra. Let's rest for 2 hours and eat, and then we will start tracking him. The leader instructed and the team followed directions. XXXXXXXXXX. When the clones started to attack the root team, Naruto was increasing his distance. Stop running through the forest, you idiot. What am I supposed to do? I have to get as far away as I can while I am still conscious, replied Naruto. Why I got stuck with an idiot is beyond me. Hey, I'm doing the best I can here. However, you are leaving a trail for those ninja scum to follow. Okay, what do I do? Naruto replied, too tired and frustrated to argue. Use the chakra I am giving you, create a chakra tail and launch yourself above the trees. About a mile up there is a river, attempt to land on the river itself. Then launch yourself again as far as you can. If they somehow are able to track you to the river, then hopefully they will think you went either upriver or downriver and not toward the drunk bridge builder. Without any other words, Naruto complied and launched himself with so much force that he almost shot over the river. Upon landing on the river, he took a few seconds to get his bearings and launched again. Landing many miles from where he left his clones, he took off at blinding speeds compared to most ninja. As he was running, he had a thought. Hey Fox, why are you being so cooperative? This isn't like you. Right now, you need help and I don't want to die from your stupidity. So to put it bluntly, by helping you I'm helping me stay alive. Assuming you don't die from chakra poisoning when we reach the drunk one. Fox, regardless of your reasoning, thanks. The fox never replied and Naruto just kept on running. XXXXXXXXXX. It was about 3 a.m. when Naruto arrived at Chizuna's house and started banging on the door. He was exhausted and could not yell or shout in any way. A very frustrated bridge builder was yelling through the house. What in the world is going on? Okay, I'm coming, just stop banging on my door, yelled Chizuna as he unlocked the door and started to open it. The door practically flew open as Naruto landed in Chizuna's arms. They both fell to the floor. Tsunami and Inari were hanging back out of curiosity of who was banging on their door at 3 in the morning. When they saw the orange boy drop, they yelled out, "Naruto!" Naruto, who was barely conscious, was whispering, hide me please." He passed out. Tsunami finally saw the wound. "Inari, go into town now and get the doctor. Be as quick as you can, but be quiet. Ask him for help and tell him it's a personal favor for us. Dad, let's get him upstairs to the extra room and get him cleaned up." Tsunami kissed Naruto's forehead and whispered, "You're safe, don't worry." Naruto started to come to. He felt like crap. Every muscle in his legs ached so much he had a brief thought that cutting them off would be better than enduring this pain. As he moaned, he couldn't remember where he was. He finally started looking around and noticed he was in a room. Where am I? Did he get captured? Then he heard footsteps coming closer. The door to the room slid open. Staring at him from the door, he recognized the woman. "Naruto-san, you finally woke up," Tsunami said with relief in her voice. "Tsunami, how did I get here?" replied Naruto. "You showed up on our doorstep extremely exhausted and you had a lot of blood loss. At least that is what the doctor told us. When you arrived, you pleaded for us to hide you and then you passed out. We asked the doctor to come here to look at you and bandage you up. That was 2 days ago. Can you tell us what happened?" asked Tsunami. Naruto appeared to be emotionally pained, but he nodded, requesting to tell the story once. After Chizuna and Inari arrived, he told them what happened, but left out the fact that he is the container of the fox demon and that he had no place to go except here. Chizuna patted the boy on the shoulder and said he could stay as long as he wanted. Once Chizuna left the house, he went to the town center and called a meeting of the town leaders. He gave a brief account of what happened to their hero, and the town unanimously decided to cut ties with Konoha, but would wait to make the announcement until they knew it was safe for their hero. They all agreed to keep this silent for Naruto's sake. Meanwhile, Naruto was able to stand after a while and he eventually was able to eat with Tsunami and Inari. He was quiet the whole meal, which the family didn't push the subject and allowed him to eat. Naruto sulked most of the morning away, and finally after lunch he decided that he couldn't wallow forever. He needed somewhere to hide and train. He finally got an idea. He found a clearing in the woods and went through the hand signs, summoning. In a poof of smoke, Gamakichi was now before Naruto. "Hey bro, how ya doing?" replied the small toad. "Great. Not enough chakra to summon the boss." "Hey, Kichi, you doing okay?" said Naruto. "Bro, what's wrong?" After explaining what happened about being banished, Naruto finally got to the point of summoning the toad. "Kichi, I need a place to hide and place that I can train. Do you think the toads could help me?" Gamakichi had a downtrodden look on his face. "Naruto, I'm sorry, but the contract with the toads is a Konoha contract. If you have been banished, we cannot have you as a summoner anymore. I'm really sorry bro." With a tear going down his face, Naruto took a few moments to gather his resolve. "Gamakichi, it has been an honor to work with you toads. I guess this is goodbye." Naruto turned around and started walking away. Gamakichi had one thought before he vanished away: Pops isn't going to be happy about this. When Naruto returned to Chizuna's house, he didn't respond to either Inari or Tsunami and just went to his room. Inari was going to go after him before he felt his mom's hand on his shoulder and she shook her head. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX from Danzo as he stared as at his route that had been evaded by the weapon. Failures. All of you, though you couldn't see it, the root team were nervous. After all, they were trained to not show any emotions. Teams 5, 10, and 7, you are to head out now and attempt to find the weapon. I want him back now, yelled Danzo. The three teams immediately left, fearing any further outburst. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX talk to the boy. Naruto, tell me, what do you need? What are you going to do? After a few seconds, Tazuna and family thought that they weren't going to get an answer when Naruto finally spoke, albeit very softly. I need a place to hide and a place to train and get stronger. For what purpose I don't know yet, but I just feel like I need to do this. If you have a hidden place that I can run to, I would appreciate it. Naruto, follow me, said Tazuna. Curious, Naruto followed Tazuna. He led the boy around the town in an attempt to avoid too many people knowing he was there, who wouldn't want to greet their hero. He finally arrived at the docks. Naruto, that boat there on the last dock is going to what we call the new land. However, there are settlements there just like here, but we don't know much about it. The trip is 6 months there via boat, and to my knowledge there are no other boats that go to the new land. I can arrange for you to be on that boat, but it leaves in the morning at 5 and you will need to help out on the ship if needed. If anyone were to find out that you did take that boat, then the earliest they could reach the new land would be a year from now, and by then you could be anywhere you want. Naruto thought about it for a few minutes and decided that it would be the best option for him. If anything, he could at least buy him a year of training before anyone could even hope to find him. I'll take that offer, old man, and thank you. I will pay you back for his. There is no need to pay me back. You have done so much for our land, and besides, I'm the mayor now and the taxes are more than enough for me to take care of myself and my family. Naruto smiled just a little, and that did not go unnoticed by Tazuna. Meanwhile, as Naruto and Tazuna were walking through the village, we find ourselves in an unknown village of this story, at the hot springs. He, yeah, that's right, ladies. Poof. What the hell? Said Jiraiya. Welcome to Toad Mountain again, Jiraiya boy, said Fukasaku with slight venom in his voice. Jiraiya was puzzled at the tone in the sage's voice. Fukasaku sensei, what do I owe this honor? Cut the crap, why was Naruto banished? What do you mean banished? Replied Jiraiya with the utmost confusion. At this point Gamakichi hopped in. I was summoned by Naruto seeking shelter. I found out he was banished. By the terms of the contract he no longer is a summoner. Needless to say, Pa and Ma were not happy. I have no knowledge of this. Replied Jiraiya. Well, we will send you back right now, and I suggest you find out what happened. The Toad Elder is not happy. By the way, you better summon me once you get back to Konoha. Replied Fukasaku. I will, Fukasaku-sene, immediately. Jiraiya was returned to the tree with a loud poof, which got the attention of the ladies in the hot springs. After a rather rough beating, Jiraiya hightailed back to Konoha as fast as he could. XXXXXXXXXX. Tsunade was sitting in her office with her head in her hands, eyes closed, and feeling horrible. She missed that blonde knucklehead. No, that's not right. She missed her blonde knucklehead. It was late at night when Jiraiya came through the window. Tsunade, what happened to? Jiraiya was cut off as he was slammed into the wall and held a few inches off the ground by an angry Tsunade. Where the hell have you been, Jiraiya? Tsunade said. I was out managing my spy. Once again he was cut off. You're a damn liar and you know it. Were you out spying on bathhouses again? Jiraiya debated whether to lie, but due to the Toad's attitude and the state of Tsunade, he decided that this is the time to just stop being his usual self. Yes, I was suddenly reverse summoned to Toad Mountain. Jiraiya then told the full story, including his mad dash to get back to the village. When he was finished with his story, Tsunade decided to let him down. The minute his feet touched the ground, she fell into his arms and cried. This is one of those moments Jiraiya knew not to say anything and let the woman cry. After a few moments of crying, Tsunade started to talk. With tears still coming from her light brown eyes, Jiraiya, they took him from me. Those bastards took my Naruto from me. Please help me. I need him back. Tsunade, wait just a minute. Jiraiya bit his thumb and went through the familiar hand signs. Summoning. In a poof of smoke, Fukusaku found himself in the Hokage's office. Okay, Tsunade, now that Fukusaku-sensei is here, please explain what happened to Naruto, said Jiraiya. Tsunade went into the explanation of what happened, and what the village law was and how she had no power to stop it. She also went into further explanation of how there is another council meeting coming up soon for the fate of Sasuke Uchiha and how she is sure they won't punish him as they should. Fukusaku sat on the desk in a thinking pose. Tsunade girl, would you like some advice? Fukusaku commented after several moments. Please, right now I'll take all the help I can get, replied Tsunade. Let's confirm a few items of law and I'll tell you what we are going to do, said Fukusaku. The three conversed back and forth into the night about subjects of law, current plans, and future actions. So that's the plan. I will go back and inform the Toads what is going on. Jiraiya boy, you take care of what needs to be done and then right before the council meeting summon the Toads we need and myself. Fukusaku turned to Tsunade. Tsunade girl, do not fret. We'll get Naruto boy back, it just may take a while to get what we need. Meanwhile, try to find Naruto boy so we can watch over him. XXXXXXXXXX. At the council meeting, Tsunade walked into the council meeting with Jiraiya and Fukusaku. The Shinobi Council knew who that was, but of course the civilian side was confused. A rather bold civilian counselor stood up. Lady Hokage, why is Jiraiya and some frog here? This is a council meeting, not a zoo. Despite the shocked looks on the Shinobi side due to the fact that they are aware of the significance of the Toad Sage being here as being a great honor. It was at the moment Tsunade was going to answer the counselor when Fukusaku spoke up. First of all, counselor, I'm a toad not a frog, Fukusaku spoke with distaste. Second of all, I'm the great toad sage Fukusaku who taught Jiraiya boy here and Minato boy. As for why I'm here, this concerns us toads. Tsunade took the floor before someone can interrupt again. She was already sick of being in the presence of the council. Let's get this meeting started, and since there are further subjects that do not concern the honorable toads, we will start with Lord Fukusaku. My lord, you have the floor. Fukusaku jumped down from Jiraiya's shoulder to the center of the room. Picture a large room with 3 tables the shape of a U, with the middle table being the Hokage with the elders flanking here and Danzo on the end close to the civilian side. Looking at the council members, you have the civilians on the right and the shinobi on the left. Thank you, Lady Hokage. It has come to the attention of the toads that one of our summoners was banished from this village. Due to the summoning contract, we are supposed to be informed of such instances since we are a Konoha summoning. Please tell us why Naruto Uzumaki was banished. Danzo, being the smug bastard that he is, chose to stand up. The the shinobi in question severely damaged the Uchiha on a simple retrieve mission, and that was considered not acceptable to this council. It was for this reason the shinobi was banished. Fukusaku did not miss the term that Danzo was going to say. It was also not missed by the Shinobi Council, although you wouldn't know it because keeping your composure in these meetings was very important to get the things you want done completed. However, the Shinobi side of the council was continuing to wonder if going along with Danzo was wise. He kept referring to Shinobi as either tools or weapons, especially since the last meeting when he so callously dismissed their children. The funny thing about it is that none of the Shinobi side of the council knew what the others were thinking for fear of losing support in these meetings. So you are telling me that he completed his mission despite this Uchiha being roughed up and you banished him? Replied the Toad Sage. An angry civilian counselor finally stood up. Listen here, frog, he said with venom, the last Uchiha is more important than that demon, and you should be happy he is gone and should be begging for the Uchiha to be your summoner. Right before the civilian counselor stood up, there was an odd energy that was missed by everyone except the Toad Sage, since he is in a constant state of sage mode. He silently signaled the unseen occupants of the room. You listen here, we toads do not take on summoners lightly. In fact, any previous summoner cannot make us take a new summoner. They can recommend a new one, but we make the choice. For your arrogance and stupidity, I have decided that until further notice we will not be taking any new summoners. We toads chose Naruto boy for his character and spirit, and we have yet to see anyone in this village quite like him. You all should reconsider your stance on this issues, because we toads are not happy about this development. After his speech, the shinobi side had wide eyes. Losing the toads as a summoning was a major hit to the village. Sum finally stood up and bowed to the Toad Sage. Lord Fukusaku, please don't be so drastic. The toads have been a part of Konoha for a long time now, and we do not wish to lose such a loyal ally. What is your name? Fukusaku asked. Sum Inuzuka. Well, Sum girl, completing a mission and then being banished is not noble or right. We have a contract with Konoha and will not leave at this time, but that contract is up when we know more summoners. It would be wise of you to reconsider your decision on Naruto boy. There was an odd energy again, and a brave and more calm civilian counselor stood up next. Mr. Fukusaku. The shinobi were mentally shaking their heads because Fukusaku earned the title Lord, and this civilian just insulted him without even trying. We do appreciate your time, and I believe you have come to say what you have come to say, but we do have other business to attend to. Lady Hokage, could we please move on so we are not here all day on an issues that will not be resolved today? Tsunade sighed and asked, Lord Fukusaku, is there anything else you wish to add to this meeting? No, Tsunade girl, we toads are done. For now. At that moment, Fukusaku returned to his home in a puff of smoke. Tsunade stood up and decided to drop the bomb on today's meeting. Alright, to the next issue for today. I have asked Jiraiya to come and give a report on Sasuke Uchiha's condition. This caught the council chamber by surprise due to Jiraiya not being a medic nin. Thank you, Lady Hokage and Honorable Council. Per the village bylaws and approval by Lady Hokage, I have successfully sealed Sasuke Uchiha's chakra. He was cut off right there. The council chamber was in an uproar. Bicker, 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 argue, 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 and after about an hour of this going on, and a seething Danzo, the Hokage finally got order back and made her declaration. First of all, as a shinobi, his status is up to me and not this council. I only informed this council out of respect. Yeah, right. Sasuke Uchiha will have his chakra sealed until he is deemed fit for duty by me. It is obvious that he was abandoning the village and should be considered a traitor. However, we cannot discount the curse seal by Orochimaru. I also will allow him to live his life here in the village under watch from Anbu until his loyalty can be confirmed. The minimum sentence is 5 years. Is there any other business anyone wishes to discuss? See, no one was going to add anything. She concluded the meeting and everyone left, not noticing that they had something following them all, especially Danzo. Tsunade went back to her office followed by Jiraiya. Right before entering her office, she called to Shizune, get me the rookies in here now. Suheim, what are you planning now? Jiraiya said. I'm going to find out if this village is worth to have Naruto back, was all she said, and Jiraiya knew better than to argue with here right now. After finally getting her head back on straight from her crying fit, he wasn't going to take a chance and put her back into it. XXXXXXXXXX. The rookies had finally gathered in her office and Tsunade was pacing back and forth with Jiraiya leaning up against the window to the side. Every now and then she would stop and act like she was going to start saying something, but she would catch herself and start pacing again. This went on for 15 minutes before someone spoke. Feeling like this had something to do with Naruto, Hinata had built up enough courage to ask her, Hokage-sama, is this about NN Naruto? Tsunade stopped and turned to look out over the village. With an audible sigh, she turned around and finally sat down. Yes, Hinata, it is. What I am about to tell you all is a village S-class secret. For the moment I am forbidding you all to discuss with anyone outside this room. I will warn you, some people know, but the third made a law forbidding anyone for talking about this, and as of right now I'm inclined to leave the law active. She took a deep breath. What can you all tell me about the night of the nine-tailed fox attack? Sakura raised her hand. Tsunade motioned for her to speak. The nine-tailed fox attacked the village. In the battle many shinobi and civilians died. Through the sacrifice of the Yondaime Hokage he was able to kill the monster and save the village. Tsunade waited a second as if debating this is the right thing to do. The senseis in the back were wondering the same thing. Kakashi was wondering if she was going to reveal everything. What you know about the nine-tailed fox attack is a lie, replied Tsunade. Everyone was wide-eyed and wondering what was going on. Tsunade continued, the nine-tailed fox cannot be killed because it is pure energy and chakra that has taken form. The only way to stop a tailed beast is to seal it in. Shikamaru spoke up. It was sealed, inside Naruto. Everyone stared at Shikamaru and then back at Tsunade, and she nodded her head to confirm. Shikamaru continued. That is what makes Gaara and Naruto such good friends, isn't it? Gaara has a tailed beast sealed in him as well. Once again Tsunade nodded and said, the one-tailed raccoon. Several minutes passed as Tsunade was waiting to see everyone's reaction. She finally asked, so what do you all think? Surprisingly, Sakura finally spoke up with venom in her voice. I always knew that Baka was a monster, just like everyone called him. Slap. Sakura stared wide-eyed and held her cheek. No, it wasn't Tsunade, and it wasn't Hinata. It was Shino who had actually slapped her. The senseis were about to intervene when Tsunade's hand went up. She wanted to see what would happen. Tell me, Sakura, do you fear me? Am I a monster? Shino asked. Sakura thought for a moment and said, no, why would I think that, Shino? Yes, you're quiet, but you are not some monster. However, you call Naruto a monster and he and I are very much alike. I have something inside of me that gives me strength. Naruto has something inside him that gives him strength. I actually have more respect for him now because unlike me, he didn't get a choice. I have a question for you. What is the difference in a storage scroll and a kunai? Shino spoke in his monotone voice. Sakura replied immediately, being the book-smart person she is, one is a scroll and the other is a kunai. Just because the kunai is in the scroll does not mean that the scroll is the same. And what happens to the kunai if the scroll is destroyed? Once again she replies quickly, the kunai is released. Exactly. So based on that logic, what happens to the nine-tailed fox if Naruto is destroyed, like the scroll? Asked Shino. Everyone in the room realized what Shino was doing just then. All except Shikamaru. I mean seriously, he's a genius. It doesn't change the fact that he has that monster inside of him. What if it takes over? Answer that, Shino. Sakura challenged. Honestly, based on how this village has treated him, I'm surprised that it hasn't taken over. We should be impressed and praising the hero, Naruto, is for staying strong and being himself. Replied Shino. Sakura got mad. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. How could these fools praise Naruto and not Sasuke-kun? What about poor Sasuke-kun who was beat up by that monster? She just huffed and left the room without another word. Tsunade turned to the rest of the group and said, as I understand it, you all witnessed what happened to Naruto. Besides Shikamaru, why didn't you do anything to stop this from happening? Kiba was the first to step up. Hokage-sama, the council all glared at us to get us to shut up. Especially my mother. I'm sorry, but I was nervous and she is the clan head, I cannot oppose her out in the open like that. The other genin were nodding their heads in understanding of what he was saying. Tsunade just rubbed her temples thinking she was going to need some more sake after the last few days she's had. Tsunade finally speaks up, does anyone else have a problem with Naruto? Everyone shook their heads and by the look in their eyes Tsunade could see they wanted their friend back. Okay, I'm sending a team to search for Naruto. I need to know if he is okay, and I want to let him know I'm working on a plan to get him back, but until then I want him to lay low. Jiraiya has a place for him to hide, but we need to find him first. Jiraiya's spy network has been looking for him and can't find him. Through a process of elimination we think he went to Wave Country. Kakashi, I want you, Shikamaru, Hinata, and Hana Inuzuka to head to Wave. Since you know the way and have contacts there and want to you find out if he's been there. Also, Kiba, before you protest I want Hana to go because she has 3 nin kin and the additional tracking will be helpful. You leave as soon as you can. Alright team, get you supplies and meet at the front gate in 30 minutes, I will go get Hana, said Kakashi. Everyone left the room except for Hinata. Tsunade and Jiraiya raised an eyebrow to this. She steeled herself and spoke without stuttering for once in her life. Hokage-sama, I will do everything I can to bring him home. She turned to leave but Tsunade spoke up. Stop. Tell me Hinata, how do you feel about him? She started to poke her fingers again out of nervous habit. Tsunade spoke up again. Hinata, look up at me and stop fidgeting. How do you feel about it? She knew the answer, but Hinata needed to steel herself and admit it. And just like that, Hinata gathered her strength again and looked Tsunade in the eye. I am in love with him. The secret we learned today only strengthens that love. To endure all he has here in this village and still be as strong as he is, that is a testament to his character. Hinata, I will get him back and he is going to need help. There is more about him we cannot share at this time, but if you want to be with him you are going to have to get strong. Tsunade saw the disappointment in her eyes assuming she meant as a ninja and Tsunade cut that out right there. I am not talking about ninja strength Hinata, yes, I can see it in your eyes. I'm talking about emotional strength. There will come a day you will have to stand up against your clan in this village if you want to be with him, so you better start strengthening your resolve to be with him, because if you cannot stand beside him against your clan you will fail in obtaining him. Hinata took a minute to understand what she was talking about and realized where her true weakness was. She stood up straight, stared the Hokage in the eyes and bowed. It shall be done. XXXXXXXXXX. At the gates. Alright team, we are going to be howling to get there by tomorrow night or early next day. It will be hard and we will be tired, but every day that passes the likelihood of finding him or confirming he was even there in the first place goes down. Let's go, commanded Kakashi. After a little time the team came across what looked like a small battlefield. Kakashi, I smell Naruto and 4 others in this area. I'm not sure what to say, but the other 4 have smells on them that are found in Konoha. Hana said. Are you saying someone from Konoha came after Naruto shortly after leaving? Replied Kakashi. I'm not sure, but that is what it smells like. Hana replied. Could you track the scents if we were back in Konoha? Kakashi asked. No, they are common smells like eating at a restaurant or walking in the park, but they are all scents I have noticed around Konoha. They smell too specific to be random if you ask me. She said. Kakashi went through some hand signs and called, summoning, and in the poof of smoke a dog appeared. Kakashi wrote down the information in the scroll and turned to the dog. Pakin, take this to Tsunade or Jiraiya and no one else. Give them this location and see if they need you to bring them back here. Right, I'll get it done. And the little dog took off. Kakashi turned to his team, alright, let's go. After traveling for a few more hours Hinata was the first to speak up. Kakashi-sensei, what can you tell us about Wave and why you think Naruto-kun went this way? We had an escort mission this way. It was a C-class turned A-class mission. Details are classified so don't ask. However, our client is a bridge builder who needed protection. That is who we are going to start with. We are assuming since no village is this way and Naruto seems to make friends anywhere, we are hoping he went there to seek shelter. The rest of the trip was uneventful. The nin-kin of Hana did pick up a slight scent of the 4 unidentified scents from earlier and a very faint scent of Naruto. In the early morning of their second day of traveling, the team came to the bridge. They stood on the bridge with wide eyes as Shikamaru read the sign out loud. The Great Naruto Bridge. Welcome to the Great Naruto Bridge. It is here on this bridge a young boy Naruto Uzumaki stood against overwhelming odds, and with the rest of his team, Kakashi Hatake, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha, taught this town what it means to stand for what you believe in and fight for it. We dedicate this bridge to Naruto's bravery and unyielding courage. Wow, is this true, Kakashi? Asked Hana. Well, there was an equal participation between all the team, but I cannot refute the spirit Naruto gave them. He did inspire the villagers to stand up, and they did just that, replied Kakashi. All of a sudden the nin-ken were making a sound that was hard to distinguish, but could be taken as snickering. Hana turned to them with flushed cheeks and told them to shut up. Everyone else was wondering what the joke was. What they couldn't figure out was that Hana was releasing pheromones unintentionally, thinking about the hero she didn't even really know. Let's be honest, all Inuzuka females want an alpha male, and a hero would be considered an alpha male. Too bad for her when she can't control her own pheromones. As the team arrived at the town, Hana turned to her nin-ken. I want you 3 to search the town. See if you can locate Naruto or his scent. Alright team, let's go to Tazuna's house first, said Kakashi. As the team was walking through town, they noticed the not so friendly glares they were getting. Shikamaru turned to Kakashi. If I didn't know any better, I would think we are not welcome here. Kakashi just nodded and continued to smile and wave to the townspeople. The team finally arrived at the house and Kakashi knocked on the door. Coming, was heard from a feminine voice. As the door opened, Tsunami saw who was there. Kakashi held up a hand in a waving fashion and said, Yo, long time no see. The atmosphere changed immediately. What can I do for you? Said Tsunami with venom. Kakashi was taken aback by this. We haven't checked on you all in a while and we wanted to stop by and see how things are going. Wait here, I will get father, Tsunami replied and closed the door. Well, that was less friendly than I was expecting, said Kakashi. The rest of the team just nodded and waited since they were new here. The door opened and Tazuna appeared, and he looked even less happy than Tsunami, if that was possible. What can I do for Konoha? Kakashi stuck to the original greeting. We haven't talked to you in a while and we wanted to check on you. We're fine. By the way, here is a scroll for your Hokage. We do not need Konoha's help anymore. You can leave now. Tazuna was closing the door when Kakashi put his foot in the door frame. So is this how Konoha treats people? Helps them out at first, then forces their way into their homes. What's next? You going to banish us from our homes? Tazuna spat out. Everyone on the team caught on now. Clearly Naruto is either here or has been here. Listen, Tazuna. No, you listen, Kakashi, that boy meant the world to us in this village. To see the state he was in when he arrived here and to hear what the great Konoha did to him. It was outrageous and we will not stand for it, Tazuna practically screamed at Kakashi. Hinata, taking her conversation with Tsunade and Jiraiya to heart, built up her courage and pushed Kakashi out of the way. Much to the surprise to every there. Please Tazuna-san, what happened to Naruto was a big mistake that was made by people in our village that usurped Lady Hokage's rule in a moment. She couldn't stop it. We are all hurting because of this decision. We want to make sure he is safe and we have a place he can go to be safe from harm. Hinata pleaded with the man and he could see something in her eyes. It was clearly love. However, his anger could not be calmed. I'm sorry, young lady, but I am not inclined to tell you anything. However, I will tell you this, he is safe from you all specifically. He is long gone from here and I doubt you will ever find him. Now, you have our village's decision in that scroll. You may all leave now, and Tazuna slammed the door. All right team, let's find a clearing outside of town and rest and regroup. I'll send a message to Lady Hokage in the morning and we'll get back, said Kakashi, feeling a little defeated. It was at this time the three Nin-ken of Hana showed up. She was talking with them and she gasped. Turning to Kakashi, she said, "Kakashi, the triplets told me that Naruto's scent is heavy down at the docks. I think it is safe to assume that he took a boat from here." "Very good, Hana. Shikamaru and Hinata, I want you to go to the docks and see what you can find out if anything. However, do not annoy the people. If they are giving you a hard time, then just leave. Let us hope we can rebuild a relationship here and get more information in the future." XXXXXXXXXX. Down at the docks, Shikamaru and Hinata were attempted to ask questions, but of course no one would say anything. Shikamaru was studying the shipping schedules and noticed something about the shipping destinations. He decided to keep that information private for now. All of a sudden Hinata took off down the docks. Shikamaru, wondering if something was wrong, followed her. She jumped off the docks and into the water at the end of the pier. She finally came back clutching something. It was Naruto's orange jacket. XXXXXXXXXX. At the campsite, Kakashi was drafting the letter for the Hokage when Shikamaru and Hinata approached. "Where's Hana?" asked Shikamaru. "She and her Nin-ken are getting us dinner," replied Kakashi. Hinata stepped up and gathered her resolve. "Somehow it just got a little easier this time. We found this at the docks." Kakashi started to reach for it and Hinata held onto it. "I'm sorry, but I will take this back myself." Kakashi just nodded as he finished his report, adding in Hinata would be bringing back Naruto's jacket. Kakashi summoned another one of his dogs and told it to get the report back to Lady Hokage, and then after dinner the team got some sleep. XXXXXXXXXX. Back in Konoha Hospital, Sasuke was beyond angry at this point. That bitch of a Hokage just informed him of his seal and his probation. What a joke. All this time wasted when he could have gotten stronger so he could kill his brother. As he sat there, Sakura came in. She smiled and tried to greet him. He just as usual. This broke her spirit a little bit. She thought he would be happy to be back in the village with her. She proceeded to tell him all about Naruto, mind you breaking the law, and the nine-tailed fox, and told him to be careful because this was an S-class secret. After some heavy contemplation, Sasuke formed a plan in his head. "Sakura, I must tell you what has happened to me. My chakra has been sealed due to my treachery. I am truly sorry, but if you will help me, I think we can be happy." "Do you think you can help me?" he asked. Inside, Sakura was screaming and dancing. She finally had won him over. "Sure, Sasuke-kun, I can help you with whatever you need." Inside, Sasuke had an evil smile and thought, "I just need to be patient and play this just right." Knock, knock. Tsunade looked up and said, "Come in." Kakashi and team walked in. They had just arrived from their mission to Wave. Team Kakashi reporting back in, Kakashi said as in the rest of the team strolled in. "Good. I will start with thank you for going on this mission. Also, thank you for finding that battle scene in the woods. We did investigate, but nothing came from it unfortunately. Please report what you have," Tsunade said. Kakashi stepped up. "We had a rather heated conversation from Tazuna while there. It is clear that Naruto was there. Further evidence supports this by the Hana's Nin-ken finding Naruto's scent all over the dock and Hinata finding Naruto's jacket." "Hinata, would you mind giving me the jacket?" asked Tsunade. Hinata just shook her head and clutched the jacket tighter. "Okay, we are done. Hinata, just stay for a minute please," said Tsunade. "Actually, if I could discuss something with you in private," said Shikamaru. Looking at him quizzically, Tsunade agreed. "Hinata, would you please wait outside?" Everyone besides Shikamaru left the office. "What is it you wish to discuss? May we get the privacy seals just in case?" Shikamaru asked. After activating the seals, she nodded for him to continue. "I asked for the privacy seals just in case. I assume at this point that there are those that cannot be trusted and I didn't want to take any chances. I reviewed the shipping schedules at the docks. I'm making a guess here, but based on Tazuna telling us that Naruto is far from any of us, I assume he took the only ship that went across the sea. From what I gather on the schedules, it is a 6-month journey. Tsunade thought for several minutes. Whether that is true or not, we cannot afford to send a team to search for that length of time. I also don't want to let any possible spies know that we suspect this. For now, we have to pray to Kami that he stays safe and work on bringing him home on this side. Shikamaru, I need council support. Any help you can provide in the future will be greatly appreciated. I will do what I can to help bring my friend home, Lady Hokage. Very well, and thank you. Please send in Hinata on your way out. Hinata comes back in still clutching the orange jacket. Tsunade puts up the privacy seals. Hinata, I promise you can keep the jacket, but may I please borrow it for a minute? Tsunade asks with tears in her eyes. Hinata nods and hands the jacket over. Tsunade clutches the jacket and starts to cry. Hinata in a bold move comes around the desk and hugs Tsunade and they cry together. Little did they know that this would be the start of a great apprenticeship. XXXXXXXXXX. 3 months on a ship gives you a lot of time to think and a lot of time to reflect on your life. It was during that first 3 months Naruto finally had time to cry. Of course he wouldn't let anyone see him, but he cried. He cried during his breaks between helping out on the ship and he cried at night. Hell, he cried himself to sleep almost every night. Subconsciously his heart shattered a little more each day and night and eventually he built up a barrier around his heart. He wasn't heartless, so don't think that, but he did not let people get close to him and he just started to live his life. His sad and homeless life. Ironic really. There was a time when he was kicked out of the orphanage that he was sad and homeless and now he finds himself there again. Is it karma or did he deserve this? He surmised he would never know. XXXXXXXXXXX. Land ho, said the ship, look out. 6 months went by faster than he thought. Of course, when all you do is lock yourself up in your room and just do chores to help out on the boat, you stop paying much attention to time. He stepped off the boat and started going into the small port town. He observed people buying and selling and noted that the money he did have on him would be accepted. That was good news. He wasn't sure what he was going to do or where he was going to go, but he decided to buy some supplies, pick a direction and just walk. He didn't know what he was supposed to do, but for now he was just going to roam. Sometimes all you can do is just put one foot in front of another until you figure out what you're supposed to do. XXXXXXXXXX. Back in Konoha it has been 6 months. For some odd reason life just seemed a little dull. The villagers couldn't place it, but the rookies knew. There wasn't a blonde knucklehead running around and smiling anymore. It seems like the village knew its sunshine was gone. A lot of things happened during the last 6 months. The civilian council were basically buddies with Sasuke Uchiha. He asked and he received, no questions asked. Little by little he had the civilian council eating out of the palm of his hands. He may not be an active shinobi, but he didn't stop training. He just built up his natural physical strength until the day he is able to get his chakra restraints removed. In 6 months' time he basically had Sakura being his slave. She did as instructed and was happy to do it too. She was so blind to her treatment that even her best friend Ino tried to tell her, but Sakura got mad, jealous and told Ino to back off. Ino recalls that day clearly. Back off, pig. Just because you lost and I won doesn't give you a right to try to tell me what to do. Quit your jealousy and move on. That was the last day any of the rookies ever talked directly to Sakura. She started acting as if she was an Uchiha and acting all stuck up like she deserved it. It was clear that once Sasuke reached the marrying age in 3 years that he would be claiming Sakura as a wife. Also, unbeknownst to the village, Sasuke was also claiming council power from Sakura's mom who served on the civilian side, not that he really needed it since that ate out of his hands anyways. Due to the CRA Clan Restoration Act, Sasuke would be claiming a new wife each year up to 3 max per the law. Sakura was already promised matriarch, which gives her all the power over the other wives. Of course she has to listen to Sasuke as patriarch, because he is the male and the true Uchiha. Little by little the shinobi side of the council kept getting frustrated with the civilian side of the council and how they bent over backwards to the Uchiha's whims. Seeing how the Uchiha was treating the pink-haired girl, the other fathers of the females were getting worried. Would this council with the civilian and elders majority vote force their children to marry that Uchiha bastard? Hell, even some of them were wishing the Uzumaki brat was still around. Somehow he always had a way of keeping the Uchiha in check. Shikaku especially had been feeling guilty over the last few months. His own son never talked to him anymore other than needed shinobi-required conversations. They never play shogi anymore. He knew why, but he didn't know how to fix it. Hell, his bar conversations with Inoichi and Choza revealed the same thing. All the children apparently had turned their backs on their family. The only one that was surprised was Hiyashi. Hinata has practically dragged Neji to the training grounds and they had been sparring non-stop. Hinata had made him proud with her growing strength and she was the apprentice to Lady Hokage. This brought great honor to the Hyuga. She still stuttered a bit, but she held herself like a head should and even started scolding Hanabi when she was acting all stuck up. Hiyashi wasn't a dumb man, but he wasn't sure why his eldest daughter had advanced so much lately. The only thing that stood out to him was she avoided him like the plaque unless necessary. XXXXXXXXXX. In that 6 months of time the Toad spies had gathered all kinds of information on the council. The only Toads that had not shown up were the Toads sent to watch and gather information on the 3 elders. This worried Tsunade and wanted to ask the old pervert, but he was away attending to his spy network. I mean really, the world still is moving along even if Naruto wasn't there. She kept all the spy information the Toads left her in a storage seal that the old pervert put on her hip to keep it concealed and not to have to worry about it being stolen. She just needed to keep it safe until she had enough to take control away from the council. She had just about had to put the old pervert in the hospital for that seal, but she had to have it concealed on her person and in a least likely place to be seen. XXXXXXXXXX. 8 months. Naruto had been traveling for 8 months. He picked up odd jobs here and there to help out locals as he came across them. He would help harvest a field here and there, make a couple of deliveries for merchants every now and then when he was traveling one way that benefited a merchant. He did miss his ramen though. No one in any village he passed by had ramen or even knew what ramen was. One thing was for sure. He never came across another ninja village. There were soldiers in various villages, but none of them seemed to be ninja. He never heard of any conversation about ninjas in this part of the world. However, he counted that as a good thing because no one would know anything about him on that level. Passing through this particular town did pique his interest. He heard some merchants talking about weird animals up north that seemed to be able to track people. If you didn't enter their forest they left you alone, but if you entered you were never heard from again. Naruto decided to head north to this scary forest and see what it was about. Honestly, what else did he have to do? I guess one could say he was getting lost on the path of life. Somewhere in Konoha a one-eye shinobi with white hair sneezed. It had taken him 3 weeks to reach the forest the merchants were gossiping about. It was rather dense and dark, Naruto had to admit. He didn't see the red eyes that were watching him. He only had a handful of kunai left in his weapons pouch, but he decided to venture forth. Here I go, Naruto said. Be careful boy, I sense something sinister in these woods, Kurama spoke in his mind. Startled Naruto responded. I haven't heard from you in a while, why speak up now? Because you always seem to get into trouble and when you do you put my life on the line since we are linked through this annoying seal. Well, I'm sorry for scaring you, but I've got nothing better to do. You did not scare me, human. Kurama screamed in his head. Do not presume that I'm afraid, however, if you are stupid enough to go into a dangerous situation you are not ready for, then the least I can do is warn you. With that, Kurama sunk back into the recesses of Naruto's mind and Naruto began to walk. XXXXXXXXXX. It had been a few hours and nothing seemed to be sinister about this forest Naruto now found himself in, lost apparently because he had no idea which way he came and which way to go. That's when it happened. He saw movement in the shadows of the dense forest. Naruto stopped and pulled a kunai in an attempt to protect himself. Out of the shadows jumped 5 large hyenas with gray hair, red eyes, and large paws about the size of Naruto's head. They jumped at him from different angles and Naruto proceeded to use the 5 Ds. Dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge. 5 points to who can guess the movie this came from. Those red eyes and that evil, laughing, sound the hyenas made were nerve-wracking to Naruto. He was pushed back and forth for several minutes when he finally had no choice but to start using the kunai. He cut the throat of one hyena and then stabbed another in the head. That made it 3-to-1 odds. Naruto finally jumped away and as he darted behind a tree he put up a familiar hand sign and called out, "Shadow clones." He created 3 clones to jump away and the hyenas appeared to argue with each other and then they split up to follow the clones. Naruto waited for several minutes to ensure they were long gone before he came out of hiding. As he caught his breath he started to walk again. He then heard that awful hyena laugh again, but this time there was a mild yelp and some soft growling coming from the same direction he was heading in. He carefully followed the sound. He came up to a small clearing where he saw what appeared to be a young lion about the size of a mid-sized dog. Naruto read about these animals once in a book. This was when he was younger in the academy and before he was consistently kicked out of classes by the biased teachers and before Iruka-sensei. He didn't know much about lions, but he knew what being ganged up on felt like. Also, based on the blood he could see on the lion's leg that the poor creature could not defend itself well. He decided at that moment that he was going to interfere. He once again created about 10 shadow clones and they all jumped in and created a perimeter around the lion. The original Naruto jumped in facing the lion with his hands up. I don't know if you can understand me, but I'm here to help. Please let me help you. The lion surprisingly appeared to be assessing the situation. In a surprising move it nodded his head to Naruto and Naruto being surprised by the understanding, but the immediate situation called for him to keep his head. He created 10 more clones that transformed into the likeness of the lion and the 11 pairs took off in different directions. The real Naruto and lion that took off with the mass of clones and in the chaos found a hollowed out tree and ducked in there. Once again, Naruto waited to make sure the coast was clear. Please sit still. I'm going to bandage your leg and then we'll get out of here. The lion stared at Naruto and carefully watched as he worked on the leg. As Naruto started to pick up the lion and move in a direction, the lion growled just a little. Naruto looked down at the lion and the lion appeared to be using his nose to point in a specific direction. Go that way? Naruto asked. The lion nodded again. You seem to understand my words really well. Are you trained to understand humans for some reason? Naruto asked. The lion simply ignored the question and kept pointing in different direction leading Naruto somewhere. Naruto, once again not having anything better to do, decided to follow the lion's lead. XXXXXXXXX. After several hours of walking they started to make their way out of the dense forest. The area beyond was a large expanse of plains filled with various animals Naruto only read about. From the looks of things he saw a giraffe, zebras, and other animals he couldn't name. The lion, who remained silent and kept pointing with his nose, urged Naruto to keep going. It had been many hours of walking and Naruto finally decided to stop. We are going to stop for the night. The lion just nodded. I'm going to clean your wound and put fresh bandages on your leg. I'm not sure if there is an infection, so this may hurt a bit. Naruto proceeded to dress the wound properly, and other than some tenderness, the lion didn't notice any pain. There, all clean now. Let me make us some food and we'll get some rest. The lion nodded. After a modest meal, the lion and Naruto got some rest. XXXXXXXXXX. When morning came, the duo continued their journey in silence. Naruto was fine with that since he wasn't much of a talker. At least not anymore. After walking for most of the day, the young lion looked up. This caught Naruto's attention. He looked up, and in the distance was a mountain range. Is that where we are going? The lion nodded. Hours later, as the sun was setting, they had finally reached the base of the mountains. What Naruto saw was a rather large compound built into the side of the mountain. As he was standing there, several shadows started moving from within the compound. The main doorway opened, and a rather large lion about the size of a horse with a golden mane and white pearl-like claws came walking out. The lion spoke, "Shabo, why have you returned without a kill, and on top of that bringing a human to these hallowed gates?" "Father, my apologies. I was wounded during my hunt and this human saved me. I will accept any punishment you deem fit." Shabo responded. "It is my decision then that you are to head to the forest of the hyenas and fight them to the death." The father spoke. "Yes, father, as you. Just hold on a second. I just saved you from a pack of those things and now you are going back." Naruto yells. "That is ridiculous. How could you send your son to die like that after surviving already?" The large lion looked at the human for a moment regarding what he said. "Shabo, is it true that is where you went?" "Yes, father. You were only supposed to find a local predator and bring the corpse here as your test. Why did you try to take on the hyenas?" "I wanted to prove myself a capable heir to the lion clan just like you, father. I thought that if I could bring a hyena back with me that I would prove my worth to you and the clan," replied Shabo, hanging his head down in shame. The father looked at Shabo and then at the human, then back to Shabo. "Shabo, we will discuss this later due to present company. However, due to this human's actions, I will forgive your mistake this time, but tread carefully. We do not reward stupidity, and going into hyena territory alone is utterly stupid." Shabo just nodded his head and slowly walked back into the compound. "Please forgive my son for his stupidity and putting you in danger with the hyenas. You may call me Sessho and I'm the one in charge here," said Sessho. In a monotone voice, Naruto replies, "It was no problem. I only did what I thought was right. You shouldn't be so hard on him. You may have saved his life, but do not try to tell me how to treat the lions I'm in charge of here. However, you appear to be tired, so for your service we will give you sanctuary as well as food and water for 2 days, but then you must be moving on. Is that clear?" shot back Sessho. Naruto stared down the lion for a second for being so callous with the lion's life, but decided to take the offering. "I thank you for hospitality and I will try my best to not be burden on you while I'm here. Follow me and I will show you where you will be staying," replied Sessho. In the shadows, there was one lion that thought they smelled something odd from the human and decided to keep an eye on him more out of curiosity than anything else. As Sessho was leading Naruto to a room for his stay, Naruto noticed the layout and style of the compound. It appeared to be made for humans. Sessho showed Naruto a rather large dining hall with many chibudais for many different people to eat at. There was a large library with many scrolls, which was very surprising to Naruto. Naruto thought about asking who lived here, but decided against it. He had already made Sessho snap at him. Naruto figured less questions would be best at this time. As they reached the room Naruto would be staying in, Sessho gave some final words. "I know it is getting late, so why don't you rest? We'll bring you food for the evening and you are welcome to walk around only in the areas I showed you tomorrow. Is that understood?" "Understood, and I thank you for the hospitality." XXXXXXXXXX. The next morning Naruto had breakfast just outside his door waiting on him. He ate and decided to roam the allowed areas. Having nothing better to do, he decided to go look around the library. Who knows, he might find a new jutsu. Little did he know that he had a lion tailing him. This would be the same lion that was curious about him last night. The lion watched as Naruto roamed the library. He would look from scroll to scroll, but never found anything that was interesting to him. Half the day seemed to roam by and it was lunchtime. He made his way to the dining hall and was served lunch. After lunch he decided to go back to the library. He had nothing better to do. All the while he was still followed by that lion. It was getting close to evening and all Naruto had done was go from scroll to scroll. That is when he decided to skip some rows. He went to the very back of the library. In the back he saw an odd-looking door with an odd elongated handle. He reached for the door. Just as he was reaching for the door, the lion watching him was about to jump out and stop him. With wide eyes the lion could not believe what was happening. As Naruto grabbed the hand, his finger was pricked. Ouch! What the hell? The door had some intricate seals that spread across the door. Suddenly a handprint showed up on the door. Naruto stared for a minute when he realized the door wanted this hand. He put his hand up to the door, but nothing happened. Maybe I need to push chakra into the door, Naruto thought. Naruto put his hand back up to the door and pushed chakra into the handprint on the door. The door clicked and opened. Naruto pushed the door open and inside was a fairly large room, not as big as the library, with scrolls along the walls and a Chibudai-style table in the center of the room. XXXXXXXXXX. As soon as the door clicked open, the lion that was watching Naruto took off in search for Sessho. Father! Father! The lion yelled, catching the attention of anyone in earshot. Sessho looked up from his dinner, called back, Nailu, my daughter, please calm down, what is going on? Father! The human opened the back room of the library, spoke Nailu. All lions in earshot went wide-eyed. Sessho called out, guards, come with me now. Sessho took off toward the library with the lioness Nailu following. XXXXXXXXXX. Naruto walked around the room inspecting the scrolls. There appeared to be family history, lineage scrolls, business economic scrolls, family bylaws and code of conduct scrolls, and finally jutsu scrolls. Naruto reached up and grabbed the first scroll. As he was about to break the seal and look at it when the large lion named Sessho along with his daughter Nailu and 5 guards burst into the room. Put that down, yelled Sessho. The guards were baring their teeth and were as hunched down ready to pounce. Nailu just stood there with a calculating eye. Having been surprised, Naruto literally dropped the scroll on the ground and jumped back with this hands up at shoulder height in an attempt to look non-threatening. Whoa, what did I do? How did you get in this room, human? Asked Sessho. I was just roaming around in the library and came across this door. When I reached for the handle, my finger was pricked and then these funny seals spread across the door. I saw a handprint on the door and I pushed some chakra into it and the door opened. I am so sorry. Silence, spoke Sessho a little more calmly. He appeared to be appraising the boy for a moment. Naruto took the moment to speak. I will just go gather my things in. I said silence, boy, spoke Sessho with an air of authority this time. Do me a favor, please step out of the room and close the door. Naruto followed the order, but did so very slowly. He did not want to anger the large lion. Sessho put his large paw up to the door and attempted to open it. He put all his weight into it, but the handle and the door would not budge. Nailu, please attempt to open the door. Nailu did so and the door would not budge. Boy, please open the door again. Naruto walked up to the door, put his hand on the handle and the door clicked and opened for him. This cannot be possible, Sessho looked on in astonishment. Once again Naruto felt defeated. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. I will gather my things now. As Naruto started to walk off, Nailu jumped in front of him to stop him. Nailu spoke up this time, young one, what is your name? She asked. Naruto looked at the ground and spoke softly. Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki. Sessho walked around to face him. Boy, raise your head please. Naruto did as instructed and waited for the punishment for his actions. Nailu saw the look in his eyes. Young one, you have done nothing wrong. Also, you will not be going anywhere. Tell me, Naruto was it? Naruto nodded. Where do you come from? Hesitantly, Naruto spoke, I come from a place called Konoha. I was banished from there and I decided to just get as far away as I could. Who were your parents, Naruto? Asked Nailu. I don't know, I was an orphan in the village, replied Naruto. Why were you banished? Asked Sessho. Naruto really hesitated for a moment and decided to give them a short version of the day he was banished. That still doesn't make sense, is there more? Asked Sessho. I'm afraid to tell you. Stated Naruto. Young one, there is nothing to fear. This I promise you. There is nothing we cannot handle. Spoke Nailu in a mothering tone. I am the container for the nine-tailed fox. The village council hated me and found some way to banish. Spoke Naruto looking back down at the ground in shame. Ah, so you are a Jinchuriki? Asked Sessho. Naruto just nodded his head. Sessho looked at Nailu and nodded. Nailu, please take care of young Naruto and see to it personally that he does not leave. Naruto, for the time being you will remain here under our care. We have many more questions that I don't think you can answer, but we will find our answers. Until then I want your word on your honor that you will not leave this compound. Do I have it? Naruto just nodded and followed Nailu out of the library. Sessho turned to the guards. There is a lot to confirm here, but I need you to send messages to the other leaders of the Panthera clan. Tell them to gather here in a week and that it is urgent. Say nothing else. The guards took off to complete their task. It had been a few days and Naruto could feel the stares. Whenever he passed by any lions they would stare at him. To be honest, he felt like he was back in Konoha when he was younger and the adults would glare at him. The only difference here is that he couldn't tell what emotions their eyes were revealing. All this time Nailu was there at his side. She felt odd because he wouldn't talk. His face was not happy. On the fourth day Naruto decided not to leave his room. He couldn't take the staring anymore. Nailu, may I ask a favor? What is it, young one? Replied Nailu. Would you mind bringing my food to the room today? He asked. I've watched you for a couple of days now. What is bothering you, young one? Nailu inquired with worry in her voice. It's tough to explain, but the stares bring back some bad memories, he replied. Nailu thought for a few moments and realized he couldn't read the other lion's emotions. Relax, young one, I will arrange for your food here if it will help you. Naruto didn't look up at her from the bed, he just nodded and said, thanks. The next few days Naruto never left the room. To be honest, it made him feel a little better than having to deal with the stares. The other lions had asked Nailu about young Naruto, but she assured him that he is fine and to give him time due to him being left in the dark about what is going on. That seemed to pacify the lions and the days went on. XXXXXXXXXX. On the seventh day the compound was buzzing with activity. The scouting teams had reported back that the other clan heads would be there by lunch. Arrangements were made in the great dining hall to accommodate the clan heads as they arrived along with their guards and advisors. Lord Sessho, what is the meaning of calling an emergency meeting during hunting season? Demanded one of the clan heads. Please be patient, Lady Tora, and let me do this properly, replied Sessho in a calm and commanding manner. He continued, I have called an emergency meeting of the Panthera clan. Let me first take roll. I, Lord Sessho, am present and am calling this meeting to order. I will take the chair role in this meeting since I am the one who initiated this. I ask that Lady Yakihio of the Snow Leopards be our record keeper since the Snow Leopards are historically our record keepers. Does Lady Yakihio accept this role? Lady Yakihio shall accept her responsibility as the clan record keeper on our honor, replied Yakihio. Sessho continued, the chair recognizes Lord Jaga as the representative for the Jaguars. Do you accept the calling of this meeting and will represent the Jaguars here? I shall on the Jaguars' honor. Replied Jaga. The chair recognizes Lord Hio of the Leopards. Do you accept the calling of this meeting and will you represent the leopards here? I shall represent all leopards with our honor, replied Hio. Finally, the chair recognizes Lady Tora of the tigers. Do you, Lady Tora, accept the calling of this meeting and will you represent all tigers here? Yes, I accept, you old coot. Let's get this meeting going already, replied Tora. Sesho rolled his eyes in amusement and continued, I have called this meeting because I believe we have a human heir to the clan. A blood relation to the long-forgotten Namikaze clan and the clan of which we serve. The other divisions of the Panthera clan erupted in chaos and wonderment. Quiet, yelled Sesho. The chair recognizes Lady Tora, said Sesho. The Namikaze died out during the Second Great Ninja War. What makes you claim that the Namikaze still live? Asked Tora as the other clan heads brought their attention back to Sesho. Over a week ago we had a human save one of our young, he purposefully skipped the details, but not to be shady, but to keep the story short, from the hyenas. As repayment for this service we allowed him to rest here for a couple of days. During this time he was in the great library of the Namikaze clan. He found the sealed door and was able to open it. Sesho recalled. He continued to explain how they closed the door and opened the door again. So what are you proposing, Sesho? Asked Hio of the leopards. The boy's name is Naruto Uzumaki. Since the name does not match, I am suggesting that we send spies to the boy's home to determine if any more Namikaze survived the Second Great Ninja War, replied Sesho. Yukihio decided to speak up, being the scholar among them. Excuse me, she got everyone attention. Has the boy attempted to open the clan scroll? She asked with emphasis on the word clan. They looked at Sesho. I have not attempted that without you all here. Jaga spoke for the first time since the opening. I think it would be prudent to determine what level of the bloodline he is before we go spying in a land that our clans ran from after that war ended. I agree with Jagi-kun, winked Tora, purposefully messing up his name. At that time Jaga's eye twitched. Guards, inform Nailu to bring Naruto before us and also have someone retrieve the clan scroll. Called Sesho. XXXXXXXXXX. After rearranging the room a bit to accommodate everyone, we now find the room set up with a long rectangle chibudai set up to one side of the room and the clan heads sitting with Sesho at the center, Tora and Jaga to the right, and Hio and Yukihio to the left. In the center of the room, about 10 feet away facing them, was a small chibudai that Naruto will be sitting at very soon, and behind him would be all of the various advisors and guards of the different divisions of the Panthera clan. There was a knock on the door. I don't know how lions knock, but just go with it for the story. Enter, called Sesho. Nailu, followed by Naruto, entered the room. She led him to the center and instructed him to sit. Naruto was very nervous and in his mind he was thinking this was some kind of inquisition. Bring in the scroll, called Yukihio. A snow leopard walked in with a large and intricate scroll with gold inlays on the handle and a very complicated looking seal keeping it closed. Naruto, Yukihio began speaking again, before you is a clan scroll, as we call it. It is the genetic history of the clan we serve. That particular scroll was sealed by the clan head back during the Second Great Ninja War. Are you familiar with that war? Naruto nodded. Good, that saves some time. The seal holding that scroll closed is a blood seal. Just so you are aware, none of us expect you to be able to open that scroll, but we would like you to attempt, please. Would you be willing to do that for us? She asked. Why would you think I could open this scroll? I don't have a clan. Naruto asked. Sesho decided to speak up this time. Naruto, the fact that you opened that room in the back of the library is proof enough that you hold the clan blood within you. That room couldn't be opened any other way. What clan do you think I am a part of? Naruto asked. Hio began speaking. You see, Naruto, a long time ago we lived in the elemental nations with the Yukihio all of a sudden cleared her throat quite loudly. Please forgive me, Hio. She looks at Naruto, and Naruto, but I believe we should wait on these details. Why do you think we should wait? Asked Jaga. Because I believe the answer to Naruto's question may reveal more questions than answers than we can give him at this time. As suggested by Lord Sessho, we should gather more information, and once received we can tell Naruto all we know. If we reveal everything right now it may only confuse the boy. Spoke Yakihio. Nailu stepped forward. Please forgive me for speaking out of turn, but I believe Lady Yakihio is correct in this instance. She turned to Naruto. Young one, would you allow us time to gather information before we tell you anything further? Naruto was looking at everyone who was staring back at him. He was honestly very uncomfortable. He just bowed his head in confirmation to Nailu's request. What do you want me to do with this scroll? He asked in a monotone voice. Nailu will use her claws to prick your finger, and we want you to let a few drops fall on that seal holding the scroll closed. I will remind you, we don't expect anything to happen, so please don't be discouraged if the scroll does not open. Replied Yakihio. Naruto allowed Nailu to prick his finger, and he let a few drops of his blood fall onto the seal before the small wound was healed by Kurama. A minute or two passed and nothing happened. Well, it looks like. Tora began to speak, but then everyone's eyes widened in shock. The seal started to glow, and right in front of everyone the scroll opened. Tora whispered, "Impossible." Tora stood up and walked around the table and toward Naruto. She was almost as big as Sessho. She lowered her head and sniffed Naruto. She walked around him as if appraising him. She finally went back to her place and sat down. All the clan heads were watching her. She finally spoke. I want the rest of the Siberian guards brought to this place, and I want this boy guarded at all times. Nothing is to happen to him, is that clear? Two normal-sized tigers left the room in a hurry to send a message to the rest of the guards. Lady Tora, please forgive me, but this is the lion's stronghold and clan compound. He is safe here, commented Sessho. I do not care. It is the responsibility of the lower level of the tiger clan to protect the boy from this point forward, and I will not budge on this duty. Replied Tora hotly. Very well, Lady Tora, replied Sessho calmly. Naruto, all your belongings will be moved to different quarters, and Nailu will be staying with you from this point forward, okay? Asked Sessho. Even though it was a question, Naruto recognized an order when he heard one. Okay, sure, replied Naruto reluctantly with questions in his mind, but he stood up and followed Nailu out of the room. Once gone, the leopard head turned to Sessho. What are our orders? Asked Hio. First things first, you all should know that he is the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox, and that is something we will have to deal with. Said Sessho. There was a small gleam in Jaga's eye that no one missed. Jaga, our time will come, but be patient, said Sessho. Jaga just nodded, even though he had a feral smile. Second, we need all the information we can gather about Naruto. That is where your clan comes in at Hio. Gather everything, anything, pertaining to Naruto Uzumaki. School records, medical records, shinobi career, friends, everything you can gather, we need it. Said Sessho. Lord Sessho, what about the summoning contract? Asked Yakihio. We will wait until we can provide him with more information about who he is and what he wants to do. Until then, Jaga, I want you to start on his physical training, and only his physical training for now. Jaga nodded. Then once we have answered his questions, we will offer him the summoning contract and make sure we set up a meeting with the boss and elders in the summoning realm. Are we agreed? They all nodded with the approval of the various counselors in the room. Hio, send your spies by tonight to Konoha and let's gather our information as quickly as possible. Said Sessho, and Hio nodded to his council, who left the room to send messages right away. Tonight we feast with Naruto and celebrate the revival of his clan, yelled Sessho. XXXXXXXXX. The rest of the day passed by and it was party time in the lion compound, and everyone was laughing and having a good time. They were celebrating Naruto and revival of his clan. Correction, everyone except Naruto. As he sat there eating and listening to the happy cheers, he kept remembering all the times with his friends, with his ex-friends. He finally stood up and everyone quieted down. He turned to the various heads and bowed to them. My apologies, but I think I will turn in for the evening. Thank you for the wonderful food. He then darted out of the room. Nailu watched for a moment and then bowed to the clan heads and darted after him. Sessho, did we do something wrong to insult Naruto? Asked Tora. Yukihiro spoke up. No, no one did anything wrong. I saw the look in his eyes. He was reminiscing about something and he is hurt, emotionally. I think there is some emotional damage we are going to have to deal with, but until the spies report back we won't know. Well, he was banished from his home. Is that possibly what's bothering him? Asked Jaga. I'm sure that is part of it, but I think there is more. I believe for now we need to keep an eye on him and be there for him when he is ready. Replied Yukihiro. Do not worry, the Siberian guards are already here and they have this place on lockdown. We will not allow any harm to the boy externally or internally. Tora proclaimed. Sessho stood up and started to leave. As he reached the door he turned around. Jaga, start the boy's physical training at dawn. Let's keep him active until the spies report back. I do not want him sulking. Also, Yukihiro, create a schedule of study for the boy. If we keep his mind and body active maybe he won't sulk. Jaga and Yukihiro responded simultaneously, it shall be done. Before he left Sessho asked one question, does anyone have any objections to Nailu being the boy's familiar? Everyone shook their heads to confirm no issues. Very well, I will inform Nailu immediately. Good evening everyone. XXXXXXXXXX. The door to Naruto's new room opened and in walked Sessho. The room was very large. It had a large bed about the size of 2 king-size beds. A personal onsen as well as a separate bathing area. It had a fireplace with a fire going to keep the room warm and a sitting area to relax in front of the fireplace. Nailu raised her head from where she slept close by Naruto but far enough away to not disturb him. Father, she whispered, are you aware of what a familiar is and what their duties are? He whispered in response. She nodded in confirmation. Good, I just confirmed with the clan heads, you are Naruto's familiar from now on. He turned and left the room. Nailu laid her head down so she could see Naruto. I shall see to your future and make sure you are happy. I swear this on my honor, she thought with a smile. It had been 5 months and the leopards had finally made it to the village. Being a summoning animal gives them access to more efficient means of travel. From outside of the village leopards observed the comings and goings of the gates and patrols. Using their techniques they melded into the shadows one evening and entered the village and spread throughout the city. After getting their bearings and locating all main target areas they split up to gather what information they could. One leopard broke into the academy and found the records room. Searching through the records he found everything on Naruto and just decided to steal it rather than spend time copying the information. There were more important things to get done tonight. A second leopard broke into the hospital records room and couldn't find any information on Naruto. After searching for about 30 minutes he found a sealed record room in an unused area of the hospital. It took some work, but he was able to find a way in. There were files upon files on one subject, Naruto Uzumaki. He had an entire room, about the size of a walk-in closet, full of medical records just on him. It made the leopard sick. No one should have this many records. He used a sealing scroll to take all the records. While the leopard was in the hospital another had gone to the public records office and only found one single file on Naruto. It was basic information on him when he was in the orphanage, and his basic public information on his ninja career. He did find out where his apartment was and decided to go there next. As he entered the apartment he saw several personal belongings. He decided to grab everything he could and sealed it in a sealing scroll. The leader of the leopard team had been able to get into the main tower where all important records would be held. However, he couldn't find anything on Naruto. He found that odd. He decided to hang around until the morning. The other leopards had finished their jobs and were waiting in a forest on the edge of Konoha at the rendezvous spot. They had brought several other leopards with them for general spy work, but they were sent to the rendezvous spot to set up a transport seal back to Lord Hio. All of the leopards were curious what was taking the leader so long, but being spies they knew things didn't always go as planned, but since no alarms were raised they decided to wait. XXXXXXXXXX. As dawn was approaching we find Shizune coming into the office to get everything prepared for the day. As she entered the Hokage's office she never noticed a shadow that melded with hers and entered with her. The shadow transferred itself to the shadow being cast by the Hokage's desk. The lead leopard was in position to get the most information for the day. The day went on as normal. The Hokage stamped paperwork and dealt with mission briefings as always. Honestly, the lead leopard was getting bored. Also, if you ask this writer, I am quite amazed the Anbu in the office never noticed the additional presence in the room. I guess they suck at being Anbu for the Hokage, but it would ruin my story if they had noticed the leopard in the shadow, therefore, that is how the cookie crumbles. Finally, after lunch, the leopard spying resulted in valuable information. Jiraiya had finally returned to the village and was coming in his usual way, through the window. Hey, Suheim, how are things going? Jiraiya asked cautiously. Tsunade looked up from her paperwork and glared on him. It's about damn time you got back here. I need to know what is going on with the three elders. None of the toads that were sent to spy on them have returned. Really? That's odd. They were supposed to send regular messages. He went through several hand signs, summoning. In a poof of smoke a small yellow toad appeared. Jiraiya addressed the toad. Have you heard from the three toads that were sent to spy on the elders? The toad responded, no, we have not. We've been worried about them, but we also know that sometimes these missions require longer timeframes. Would you like me to summon them for you? Jiraiya looked at Tsunade and then back at the toad. It is up to Suheim. Tsunade thought for a moment and decided the need for information was more important than the need for safety. Yes, please do. The toad, using a special technique, went about reverse summoning the three toads that were sent after the three elders. In 3 poofs of smoke 3 dead toads appeared on the floor. Ah, crap. Someone knows we are on to them and most likely it is Danzo. Commented Jiraiya. Tsunade commented with a sigh, how are we going to get Naruto back if we can't get any information on those 3 old coots? At this the leopard raised the proverbial eyebrow. They want him back. I thought they banished him. He received his answer in the next comment by Jiraiya. Well, Haim, do you have enough with all the other information to get power back from the council? He asked. The leopard's thoughts continued. This council usurped the leader somehow. Lady Nailu will want to know this. You would think so, but when I hint at information they would want kept private they appear to give in when I talk to them privately, but once the meeting starts it's like they are completely different people. Jiraiya, if I cannot get power back I don't know what I'm going to do about getting my Naruto back. What would they think if they knew about all this? Suon said, implying. They, meaning his parents. Remember readers, only a few people know the truth about Naruto parentage and the Hokage's Anbu do not know. I think they would go on a rampage personally. He replied. Okay, I need food for now and time to think. Jiraiya, you are taking me to get some sake and you are going to keep your hands to yourself. Got it, she said. Okay, I will abide by that. Today, Jiraiya said with the today being thought. As they left the room Shizune came in to clear up the signed paperwork and add to the pile of the unsigned. As she left she never noticed the shadow that left with her. XXXXXXXXXXX. It took some patience and some time to hop from shadow to shadow until he was able to reach the wooded rendezvous spot. Leader, we have the information gathered for you. One of the spies said. Good. I also have some more information that we need to write down and get back to Hio, replied the leader. After all information was recorded and compiled then the leader spoke. I want you, the leopard from the record office mission, to send this information back to Hio using our transport seal. I think there is enough for now. Also, direct his attention to the information I personally included at the end of the notes, and I want him to review that first before reviewing everything else. The leader continued, You three, he pointed to 3 other leopards, there are others here known as elders. Once we locate them, I want you to gather any and all information on them. It should be noted that there is a toad summoner here and the toad spies sent to these elders were killed. Please be careful, your lives are more important than any information you can gather. They all nodded and split up. The leader looked at the rest of the spies. I want you all to spread throughout this village and gather anything you might find important. I intend to send an update to Hyo by the end of the week, so meet back here in a week's time. The leader did his spooky shadow jumping technique to head back to the Hokage's office. There is more and he would find out. XXXXXXXXXX. It was the last day of the week, and that evening the spies would gather to send an update to Hyo. As the afternoon approached, more interesting information developed for the leader. Knock knock. Enter, said the Hokage. In walked Hinata. Ah, Hinata dear, how is your training with Shizune going? Asked Tsunade. Hinata took a deep breath, which the Hokage noticed. She is getting better at calming herself. The training has been going well. I have learned so much and have been able to apply everything to my taijutsu, and though it sickens me, my father has taken note to my advancement. That is good to hear. I will be taking over soon to take your skills to the next level, so be prepared, okay? Commented Tsunade. Of course, Tsunade-sensei, Hinata bowed. I have a request, if I may. She asked. Tsunade nodded. During my duties over the next month at the hospital, I would like to bring Hanabi with me. She has been improving and is less stuck up than she used to be, but I think forcing her to help others may be what she needs. Would it be okay if I have Hanabi help me in the hospital? She asked. I trust your judgment, Hinata, and I agree with your assessment. Go right on ahead, commented Tsunade. Thank you, Tsunade-sensei. The leopard was perplexed by something. Before he left the compound those many months ago, he had the opportunity to be within smelling range of Naruto. He had committed his scent to memory. This girl smelled different, but she clearly had Naruto's scent on her. He guessed he would have to send one of his spies to figure this out. XXXXXXXXXX. The spies all met back up and compiled any information to send back to the compound. Only one of the leopard spies that was sent to look for these elders returned. The leader hoped that was a good thing and told the last member to continue to look for this elusive third elder, and if she came across the other 2 spies, she was to inform them to meet back up in a month. They all separated and continued to gather information about this village. Especially the young girl the leader wanted more information on. XXXXXXXXXXX. That month finally came to an end and the leopards had met back up. They compiled information about all of Naruto's friends and how they are treating their parents and others around the village. They have put quite the dossier about Hinata and her feelings toward Naruto. Especially how she slept every night with Naruto jacket that she found. Surprisingly, at one point Tsunade had pulled out the information on Naruto and was having a private discussion with Jiraiya and Kakashi about his parents and heritage. Above all things, this was the information that the leopards were needing. Finally, the important information needed about the elders was actually gathered. The leopard that was able to get to Danzo's private records had found some very incriminating evidence and compiled copies of the documentation needed and summaries of conversations between him and various civilian counselors and the elders. The next step for them was to get instructions from home. Until then, they would continue to gather information on the village and monitor these elders. All of the spy information had been gathered, and we now find our Panthera clan leaders and Nailu gathered together to discuss everything. Lord Hyo started the meeting. Welcome everyone. We have finally compiled all the information from our spies and we have the information we wanted. We have way more than wanted, but we trimmed the information down to what we believed to be necessary. With the help of Lady Yakihio, we took a blood sample that we received from the hospital records of Naruto's father and compared it to the last known clan head. The royal bloodline lives on through Naruto. This confirms his place as the Namikaze clan head. Does anyone have any questions on this? When do we inform Lord Naruto of his heritage? Asked Sessho. I think it would be wise for me to compile everything together from this meeting and then we will discuss everything with Naruto later today. Commented Lady Yakihio. That is good, replied Sessho. Lord Hio continued, from everything gathered we have some very interesting information. It would appear that the leader and Naruto's friends did not want him to leave. Her power was usurped from her by 3 elders, and this civilian side of a council. However, what we have found out is that one of the elders named Danzo has been using his abilities to